thought that was like great and something that we could like apply because we've had clapping. So I did think there were a lot of like good nuggets in there. I'm very supportive of going once a term. There was a lot of redundancy for me having gone like 3 years ago.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the special meeting of the Campbell City Council for Tuesday, April 21st, 2026. And we'll start this evening with a roll call, please.
Councilmember Scazola.
Here.
Councilmember Lopez.
Here.
Councilmember Hines.
Present.
Vice Mayor Bybee. Present. Mayor Furtado.
Here. We will defer public comment, which we will take until after the staff presentation tonight. We have one item of business, new business, the potential use of city facilities for immigration enforcement activities. And the staff presentation will be made by Assistant City Manager Angelique Gaeta.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. As the Mayor indicated, the item for this evening is potential use of city facilities for, I can get closer. That's all right, let me get closer. For immigration enforcement, is that better? Okay. So just as a reminder, on February 17th, 2026, the council directed staff to agendize for discussion an item on city policy related to the potential actions of ICE agents on city facilities. And following that direction, the city staff actually explored other policies from our neighboring cities to look at what they were doing. Specifically, we looked at San Jose, the city of Santa Clara, and the city of Sunnyvale. And our understanding is they all passed policies around potential use of their city facilities for civil immigration enforcement activities in that order. So San Jose went first, then Santa Clara, and then Sunnyvale, who passed their policy or adopted their policy a couple of weeks ago. And what we looked at were the components that these policies had in common. Generally speaking, at the outset, it's a direct prohibition on the use of city-owned or city-controlled facilities for staging, processing, or any other types of operations related to immigration enforcement activity. All policies also had exemptions spelled out, And those included for the execution of lawful judicial warrants, for the enforcement of criminal laws, and the exempted properties already under lease, license, or some other type of operating agreement. In addition, in those cities, staff was directed to identify city facilities that would be subject to the policy, post signs at impacted facilities, explore each of those facilities to determine whether or not physical barriers were needed to limit access to the facility, and train employees for reporting of unauthorized use. So again, these are all components of the policies that were adopted by these three cities, and all these components those policies had in common. So with that background, if the city council was interested in a similar policy, then the staff would ask for direction on a number of things, including the exemption for certain activities similar to what the other policies in the other cities hold, for example, for criminal activity. Exemptions for existing leases. So if the city is under lease or license or any other type of operating agreement with any other agency. And then we'd also ask for direction on a timeline to return to council for consideration. And of course, we would ask that we would be given time to assess all the properties that the city has under its jurisdiction and determine which ones would be subject to those conditions. In terms of implementation, city staff is prepared to address any signage, physical barriers, and training requirements as needed per our determination after examining the various properties. So with that, we're happy to take questions on any of those particular policies. We have those at the ready to respond to questions, and then also any questions that the council would have around what a policy would look like for the city of Campbell.
Thank you, Angelique. The first thing I'll do is ask members of the city council if you have questions based on the presentation by staff or any other basic questions first before we take public comment. So does any member of the council? Yes, Terry.
Yeah, thank you, staff, very much for the presentation. Can you delve in a little more as far as the timing of the implementation and what options we have for that? Specifically, I'm coming because of the summer events coming up. What's the speed with which this could be implemented?
Sure. The policy itself is not a particularly heavy lift, given that we've got 3 examples in front of us that have all been vetted through their city attorney and by their respective councils. So that could be done fairly quickly. It's just going through and taking the time to identify the properties that would be subject to the policy, as well as determining which would need posting of signs if that was the direction of council. Also, if any physical barriers were needed, and then any necessary training of staff, which probably itself would be pretty straightforward, but the rest might take some time, which could be done side by side with drafting of the policy.
Thank you. I believe, Sergio, it looks like you have your hand. No, I'm sorry. I guess it's Elliot who has his hand raised. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is, so even though the No Secret Police Act was struck down at the state level, my understanding is that other cities have created their own policies that are essentially the same thing. So I just think it would be good for the public to know. I would very much like to personally add something like that to our own ordinances, if possible. So maybe you can explain a little bit about what these other cities have done, why it's different, and why we could possibly have some kind of policy where we don't allow law enforcement to have masks or no identification on them.
Sure. So what you're discussing is actually a policy, an anti-mask or mask ban that's actually captured in an ordinance in the city of San Jose specifically. At the state level, there was legislation that was approved at the end of 2025, signed off by the governor, that included a mask ban. and required law enforcement to wear either their name or a badge to identify who they were. And the Trump administration actually filed a lawsuit against the state. And the federal court actually agreed with the administration in terms of the mask ban because it specifically called out federal agents and did not identify state agents as also being subject to that ban. But the court also did uphold the part that required the identification, either by name or badge. So different than what we're discussing currently, but still in response to your question, in regards to what cities are doing in our area, San Jose specifically has a masking ban, but it applies to all law enforcement officers and therefore would not be subject to the fighting of the federal court case or the holding in the federal court case, because it doesn't distinguish between one or the other and is not discriminatory. It applies to all law enforcement.
Very much appreciate that explanation. I would hope that we can follow their lead on that. Thank you.
Other questions by members of the council? With that, I will open the public hearing. And I understand that several of you have filled out cards. If you'd like to speak tonight, I request that you do fill out a card. It just makes it a little easier for me to call on you. You're not required to fill out a card, but at the conclusion of the cards that I have from those of you that have done so, I will then ask if anyone else wishes to make a comment. So I will take all public comments. This is just the order that will follow. Each member who would like to speak, I request that you come up to the main podium. If you'll just tap the microphone picture, that will turn the light to green, and the microphone will be on. I see the city manager just did that for us. Thank you. And you will have 2 minutes to speak. So first I'd like to invite Eugene Hill.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council members, I am Eugene Hill, a 20-plus year member of Campbell United Methodist Church, where I volunteer and am a local consumer of goods and services. Thank you for your leadership and commitment to serve all members of this diverse community. I urge you to develop and accept a strong policy as initiated by Councilmember Lopez to protect the well-being of city employees and community members. In addition to the requested policies that I agree with, I would suggest one more. Make sure that your building permit office does not give a list of currently active building permits to the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Organization. I have personal experience where such a list was given to ICE, and they used it as a shopping list of building and remodeling work sites to detain workers and terrorize the worksite leaders. It cost me critical time as a homeowner until the ICE quota was met and they moved on. Word spreads rapidly and many work sites were shut down out of fear. Don't let that happen here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. My name is Linda Babcock. I'm a 20-year resident of Campbell. I live at 123 Del Prado Drive. I want to thank you for having this meeting and for the opportunity to discuss our Campbell response to ICE and immigration enforcement. I urge you to support the Santa Clara plan for protecting our people and our city from the current federal administration's chaos, harm, and illegal tactics. This administration has shown disregard for the law and a desire to create fear and circumvent local law enforcement with their illegal campaign to indiscriminately round up and detain as many quote unquote illegal looking people as possible, regardless of their legal status, and send them to detainment centers across the country with no representation. As citizens and officials, we must stand with integrity and protect both our people and our laws. I believe keeping ICE off of our city property will keep us all safer and keep trust amongst our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Hammer.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members, and city staff. My name is Matt Hammer. I live near here and sent my children to public schools in Campbell. I'm working with the Immigrant Protection and Empowerment Network in the county. Really appreciate your leadership and commitment to serve all members of our diverse community. We're to urge you to adopt a strong policy as initiated by Councilmember Lopez to protect the safety and well-being of community members and city employees. As you all know, the Trump administration has launched an unprecedented campaign to make immigrant communities afraid. ICE has made it clear that they think they can operate outside the bounds of federal and state law. People are terrified, particularly immigrants from Latin America and Africa. I know so many children personally and parents who wonder if this will be the last day that they'll see each other. This trauma is widespread and won't go away anytime soon. With the federal administration doing all it can to make immigrants feel unsafe, there's so much that we can do here to counter that and make our city a model for being welcoming. Like some other cities in the county have already done, please approve a strong policy here that will limit DHS's use of city property for its terror campaign. This should include all city-owned and controlled property with no exceptions. Also, the city should have clear signage about the policy and also have physical barriers such as locked gates around property that federal agents might seek to use. We also need strong protocols for city employees, including safe site protocols on what to do if law enforcement visits your site. The policy should be adopted in time for implementation to be completed before the end of May in order for everyone in the city to be fully prepared well before FIFA begins here in June when ICE presence may increase. A strong policy will assure community members and employees that the city of Campbell is committed to the safety and well-being of the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Akimi Flynn.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, and staff. My name is Akemi. I'm with the Immigrant Protection and Empowerment Network, which is a county-wide cross-sector collaborative of organizations and leaders committed to having strong protections. And so we are really thrilled to have, we have a number of work groups, and one of them is intergovernment. And so we're thrilled to have representation from the City Manager's Office of Campbell as part of that group. So Matt just went through the list of our recommendations for your inclusion in a strong policy. And so I won't repeat those, except to say that we as a cross-sector countywide collaborative are here to partner with you. Our team has worked with the City of San Jose, the Board of Supervisors, and brought the policies also to Sunnyvale and Santa Clara. We also work with the City of San Jose on the anti-masking and requirement for law enforcement to identify themselves. And so we are really here as partners to support you to have the strongest possible policy to provide the greatest protections and assurance to city employees as well as to community members from all backgrounds. So I thank you very much for your leadership and stand here in partnership ready to support. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie Snow.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council members. My name is Stephanie Snow. I have been a resident of Campbell for the past 26 years. I would like to thank you all for your leadership and commitment to serve all members of our diverse community. I'm speaking tonight to encourage you to adopt a clear policy to prohibit the use of city facilities by immigration enforcement. It is our duty to do all we can to protect the safety and well-being of community members and city employees. This issue is important to me because I am an educator at a school where a majority of the students are immigrants. Many of my students are scared and they do not feel safe in today's world. It is heartbreaking to hear fears about deportation from children as young as 6 years old. As a teacher, I do what I can in my classroom to provide a safe and nurturing environment for my students. I'm asking you as city council members to use your position to join me in trying to keep our community's children and their families and neighbors safe. I hope that I can count on you to develop a policy that includes all city-owned property, clear signs and barriers, safe site protocols, and training and resources for the community. Please create and adopt this policy in a timely manner. By adopting a strong and clear policy protecting our vulnerable community members from immigration enforcement, the city of Campbell can show its commitment to the safety and well-being of the community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Grace?
Do I tap? No, sorry.
Please, it's on. Thank you.
Thank you. Dear Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council members. I have been a Campbell resident for over 20 years. My children have attended Campbell Public Schools and graduated from Del Mar High School. I want to thank everyone for their leadership and commitment to serve all members of our diverse community. And I urge you to develop and adopt a strong policy as initiated by Councilmember Lopez to protect the safety and well-being of community members. In addition, please follow San Jose's policies on the mask ban and the identification requirement of name or badge by all law enforcement. This is important to me because I am the daughter of immigrants whose families immigrated from Mexico. In addition, my spouse is an immigrant, and my children, my 3 boys, my spouse is an immigrant from Europe. So it touches my family entirely. It's very upsetting to see that people of color, immigrants, are being targeted by this agency in a very cruel, unconstitutional manner. It's very scary. I fear for my extended family. I was born and raised in California, but my first language was Spanish. And my parents deliberately wanted to raise us to speak 2 languages. And so it is very upsetting to hear that there has been rulings by the Supreme Court, Kavanaugh, particularly, that the ICE can go after people speaking a foreign language. So it has been very, very difficult to read and follow this ICE activity and how they target immigrants. I ask that you follow the San Jose policies if possible, that you're very transparent with our community, and that you ask our community for support if we can help in any way. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Elizabeth Holliday?
Hi, good evening, Mayor Furtado, Vice Mayor Bybee, and esteemed council members. Being on this side of the podium, I just want to mention, is very intimidating. And I appreciate everybody who came out to speak on behalf of this very important process that I am grateful to Councilmember Lopez for initiating. This is important to me as, and I didn't introduce myself, Elizabeth Halliday. And though I serve on the Campbell Union High School District Board, I am here on my own behalf speaking for myself and my family. We've lived in Campbell for decades, and my family also has immigrants and can be affected by the overreach by ICE, even though they came through traditional paths. We can't count on that anymore. When my kids were growing up, we had kind of one rule in our house. Anything is okay until it becomes a problem. Well, this federal overreach has become a serious problem. They don't seem to care about what pathways people have used to come to this country, or even if they're here from birth. People are being disappeared and detained and sent away to who knows where. It's become a serious problem, and I appreciate the efforts of you and our community to protect the residents and anybody who's in Campbell. I request the same things that were presented in the presentation that all city-owned and controlled property would be included with no exceptions, that there would be clear signage and barriers, safe site protocols and training for staff. Thank you.
Thank you. These three.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, and city staff. I am a longtime Campbell resident, and I'm here tonight to speak in favor of Councilmember Lopez's resolution before the council. We have the good fortune to live in a peaceful, well-managed city, and immigrants are a welcome and integral part of our community. Over the past year, we've seen shocking overreach of federal immigration policing. Poorly vetted and poorly trained new officers have been handed military-grade equipment and sent into American cities where they have not policed, but rather attacked law-abiding people with absolute cruelty. We do not want to make it easy for that to happen here in Campbell. Instead, city properties should continue as they are, places to enjoy with friends and family or to conduct routine city business. City-owned properties should certainly not be available as staging areas for this hate-filled mission. Campbell should unite with our neighboring jurisdictions to maintain our peaceful communities and resist unlawful and unnecessary policing. Further, please consider adopting a universal no mask and badge ID for all law enforcement officers. Thank you for your time and for your service to the city of Campbell.
Thank you. Abigail?
Good evening, council members. My name is Abigail Brenneman Azubuike. I've been a Campbell resident of about the last year, and I've really enjoyed getting to know the city and engaging. I'm also a public school teacher, and I teach English language learners, and I really, really care about the community. I really care about my students. And I'm here, as others, to urge you to adopt this strong policy. As initiated by Councilmember Lopez, to protect the residents, my neighbors, my students, everyone that's here in Campbell. As said, I encourage you to include all city-owned and controlled property, install the signage and barriers about the policy, safe site protocols and training, resources for business and community. And this is really urgent. Safety is urgent. And so do so quickly. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone online? There is. Okay, please go ahead.
Karen, would you like to speak? Karen, would you like to speak? Okay. Raja Palala?
Hey, I sincerely thank Council Member Sergio Lopez for bringing this topic. Being a migrant myself, I am extremely sympathetic to this topic. One thing I want to highlight, though, is last year we have seen a series of burglaries targeted against the Asian communities. This was all reported in the news and stuff, that the specific targetaries to the burglaries, and even the news reports have highlighted that these burglaries were done by foreign origin gang related, specifically with that operanda. So I just want the city council to be aware of that also when making these rules. I'm all in for no mask, making sure access is restricted and all. But at the same time, for criminal activities like this, I want the policies to be such that, when required, really dangerous criminals who are entering people's homes when they are in the home and scaling the kids and stuff. There is a pathway for resolving those kinds of situations also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, one more try for Karen Martin. Would you like to speak? I don't think so.
Okay. Is there anyone else present in the room who would like to speak? Please.
Should I come now? I'll just hold on to it.
Yeah, you can just mention.
Jenny Martin.
Sure, please go ahead.
I'm actually the sister of Karen Martin, who says her technology wasn't working to come off of mute. So that's why she couldn't speak earlier. Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members, I'm Jenny Martin, and I'm a member of Campbell United Methodist Church for over 20 years. I want to thank you for the safety that you provide for this diverse and vibrant community of Campbell. I feel very fortunate to be part of it, and I'm grateful. I want to urge you to adopt a strong policy to prohibit immigrant enforcement actions on City of Campbell property. And to urge you to continue to do as you have done, which is to protect the safety of community members. At Campbell United Methodist Church, our church community is diverse and home to many immigrants, especially those from Sierra Leone. We also support the Safe Parking Program, which supports many Latino immigrants. This policy that is under consideration now would really continue to support the immigrants who make this community strong. I'm grateful to you for considering it.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Seeing no other requests, I will close the public hearing and now bring the matter to the council for further discussion and follow-up. I will make one introductory comment myself. There was a brief reference made to this. I just wanted to tell you something that we have had in effect for a little while, and that is consistent with the policy of the Santa Clara County Police Chiefs Association. The city of Campbell participates to the extent that we do not routinely assist immigration officers with any enforcement activities unless it is a matter that involves a judicial warrant or is a clear enforcement for a major crime. And that is the only time our officers will interact. We also have a local city policy at the present time, which calls for city employees or anyone else who happens to observe an ICE officer or team within the city to notify our police department. And our police department will send an officer to the scene for the purpose of monitoring and for the lawful purposes that law officers locally have. So that element, while not complete based on what you have told us, I just wanted to tell you we already have that enforced within the city. And I mention that as a matter of information. So now I'll ask my colleagues on the council for any questions, comments that they might have. Councilmember Hines.
Let me go ahead and again, I want to really emphasize support for Councilmember Lopez in bringing this forward. And just going down the next steps of item 3.1 that have been presented, that I really want to emphasize to have a policy that prohibits the use of city facilities for civil immigration enforcement activity, that we would follow the example of the Santa Clara City policy, where we are doesn't utilize existing city properties for any of this activity, with the carve out of where it doesn't affect the Campbell leases or property. that might be in play. But it also not impede execution of judicial warrants and enforcement of criminal law. But I really want to emphasize the use of these examples from Santa Clara County, and I understand from other cities as well. And I agree with the addition of the badge and ID name into this policy, and really want to emphasize trying to get it done in very short order because of the June timing that's from a policy standpoint, with the implementation as quickly as feasible to be completed effectively.
Thank you. Councilmember Lopez, pardon me, checking my screen here again. Councilmember Scazola.
Thank you, Mayor Furtado. I agree with everything that's been said. I think I just want to thank staff for all the hard work they've done. I really appreciate that our staff is trained to deal with this situation. I would also like us to follow in San Jose's footsteps in regards to getting a really strong ordinance when it comes to all law enforcement, that there's a ban against wearing masks and also not presenting ID, not wearing your official credential on you. So I would definitely agree with my fellow council members that that is something that is a necessity. So to make it the strongest policy possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Bybee.
Thank you. So first, I want to thank all the speakers that are here tonight and all the emails that we received. And after reading through many of the emails and preparing for tonight, I asked myself 3 questions. What is the problem we are trying to solve? Or are we creating a problem in Campbell? Are we reacting to incidents that have occurred nationally, which are politically charged and motivated? And what is best for the city of Campbell? For me, the most important thing is the protection of our citizens and our employees. And I believe that we've done that through the memorandum that was generated by our city staff and has protocols in place should an ICE incident happen on city property. I am not inclined to jump on the political bandwagon for the sake of being on the bandwagon. I believe that creating signage and a policy will not deter ICE from proceeding with their activity, and it to me creates a sense of a false sense of security and an expectation that the city is going to do something if ICE comes to a city facility, when in fact our powers are limited and it's going to end up in the court. So for that reason, I'm not inclined to proceed with many of the protocols and suggestions that are in the emails and identified in the staff report. I do believe that San Jose and Santa Clara are a totally different city with a much larger jurisdiction, and their policies and some of their situations are much different than the small city like Campbell. So I would support a balance, and would look at the policy statement that Santa Clara has, which is referenced in page 4 of our staff report, that we could post on our website and model and use. But I don't support going beyond that.
Thank you. Councilmember Scazola, is your hand raised again? I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to respond to those last comments by Ann. This is something that's critical in United States history. We have never had a secret police force where law enforcement has always had to identify themselves. That's the one great thing that allows us to have a lot of freedoms. And you can even ask the chief if an officer is asked for their identification, or a supervisor. None of that stuff applies to ICE. They can do whatever they want. It is unprecedented. These guys are thugs. They're very poorly trained. This is another thing the chief can probably tell you, is that these guys are just right off the streets. They do not go through a police academy. They do not get FBI training. They are just random hires off the internet. It's crazy. And then imagine this. A car drives, a blockades right in front of you. These guys run up to you with guns. They're masked. They have no identification. They're sticking guns in your faces and they're smashing the glass of your car and they're trying to drag one of your loved ones away. This is completely unprecedented. And that's why I think we have to have the strongest policy possible. This is not political. This is just anti-American if we allow this to happen in our community. We've never had a secret police force and we never should. And this is one small thing we can do to try and prevent this fascism. And this is not political. This is just facts. From a history perspective, this is so important. It's not enough to just allow the laws to exist right now. Cities need to take a stand. And so I'm really supportive, and I think it's absolutely crucial that we make sure that there's a ban about masks and no IDs. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lopez, did you have comments that you'd like to make?
Yes, Mayor. I think your microphone might be off, but I'm happy to speak if you're addressing.
Yeah, temporarily turned it off rather than on. So please go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. First, I'd like to thank staff for all the diligent work on this in a short amount of time. Thank you sincerely to every member of the public who came out and spoke so sincerely and from your heart. And to my colleagues, thank each and every one of you for your consideration of this issue. I know that each one of us, no matter what the final vote is, approaches this in terms of what is best for our residents and for the city of Campbell. So let me share. I think I'll start with just kind of practically and logistically what I believe should happen, and then rather than start with this, I'll just share why this is personal for me. But I do believe that this is responding to real concerns that exist and real anxieties in the community that have practical impacts on the day-to-day life of residents in our community. Last year, when I was serving as mayor, the very first community meeting that I had was with a group of parents who were terrified to send their children to school because there were actions around the country and all sorts of rumors flying. And so there were serious concerns from our school leaders, both administration and elected school leaders, about the impact that this would have on the school year. And let alone, there's a practical, the funding aspect of what districts get on a per pupil basis. But much more than that, what I heard and what people were seeing was the anxiety, the stress, the mental toll that it took on families and parents. And so a student can't show up and do their best work. Parents can't support them. Parents can't go to work if they're worried about these fears. And so I believe it's having a real impact on residents. And as was mentioned, I think there's a little. I appreciate staff's response on this when the question came up, but I appreciate that it does sound like we could move this forward in a prompt timeframe because of the World Cup coming up. And so let's be clear, we don't have a crystal ball. And so as with the Super Bowl, it's possible that nothing will happen, but I also believe that taking these actions now would not just give peace of mind, but also help protect our residents. And so I want to be really clear about what that means, what I think we're asking for, and what I'm seeing in the policies that are here. Let's be really clear. None of us can pretend that we can put up a shield to stop this administration from doing anything and say with perfect certainty that we can offer that guarantee of protection. But what I can do, what I believe that we can do, is to set ourselves up for success and protect our residents by laying the legal groundwork so that in case something were to happen, we're on stronger legal footing because we've done our homework and whether it's through an injunctive relief or other kind working with community groups, that there are more legal protections in place to protect residents before, during, and after any kind of potential incident. And I will mention that staff training has been mentioned, and I appreciate that even prior to this referral coming up, that our city manager's office was already taking a leadership role in this. So I really appreciate that work of staff. And that was one of the things that came up for me when VTA recently considered this. Something that I did not expect to hear, but as it was leading up to that, was how much workers stressed to us that, in that case, VTA, that agency, taking this action, implementing this kind of training, would provide peace of mind for public agency workers to go about and do their daily jobs. And so I also believe that taking the steps would help support our city staff in terms of having even clearer guidance. And so for those, not just for the emotional and mental aspects of this, but for those legal and practical reasons, I do believe that, again, this is not to say, and I don't think anyone here in the audience or anyone I've spoken to about this certainly believes that the city of Campbell could wave a wand and guarantee that nothing will happen. But what I think that we've always done as a community is in accordance with our values to do our due diligence and lay the groundwork so that we are prepared if anything were to happen. And those are the values that I've seen time again, and will be supporting doing as much as possible on this. And then finally, I just want to share for me the personal reasons, as I shared when I became mayor, and as I've spoken with many members of our community about. I'm the son of two immigrants. I'm also the son of two immigrants who happen to be formerly undocumented. And so while they took all the right steps, and both because of a great deal of diligence and hard work, but also let's be honest with the immigration system that we have, a great deal of luck. My parents were able to do things the right way and become citizens, so that myself and my younger siblings who were born in this country were born with citizens could have that assurance, and so they could exercise their civic responsibility of voting and being part of our community. And the Campbell community has always welcomed us, but it's been weighing heavily on my mind ever since that first meeting I had last year when I first became mayor, because if I had been born 2 decades later and growing up in this current environment, and we had this kind of hostile administration to our values and to valued members of our community, I'm not sure I'd be sitting here. I'm not sure I would have had the opportunity to attend public schools, to have an Ivy League education, to come back, serve my community, be here, serve as mayor, and serve on this council. It just breaks my heart to think of all the members of our community who have so much to offer, who have so much potential, and through no fault of their own. And they may be children who are citizens who are perfectly legal, but what was clear to me from the initial meeting that I had, that I shared, was that the way in which this anxiety is tearing apart the fabric of our community. And so I think we can take a major step through some practical actions and being really clear and transparent about what it is we can and can't do, but still doing our part, saying that we need to do this in order to alleviate just a bit of that concern and anxiety so that every member of our community has a chance to thrive and fulfill their full potential. So that's what I'll be supporting. I appreciate, again, everyone, staff, everyone who spoke, and all the members of this council who I know will, whatever the final outcome is, I know we all care deeply about this community and about making the right decision for our residents. And I have no doubt that every one of our decisions will be based on that. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. I'd like to mention also that I do support the policy regarding activities on city-owned facilities here within Campbell, all of our facilities, and I would like to see that. The one element I would have a difficult time at this point supporting would be the idea of posting signs and erecting fences and things of that nature. I know that that has been suggested. Frankly, we don't have a budget for that right now. It would take quite a bit of staff time to do all of these things. And I think we are short-staffed and our budget is challenged for this next year. So I would not support those elements at the present time. I agree with Vice Mayor Bybee that yes, this has not been an issue, fortunately, in the city of Campbell. We never know what could happen in the future. But I think for us to make a statement and to have a basic policy in force expresses our concern and expresses our outrage for the types of behavior that we've seen with the ICE officers, who I agree are poorly trained and a poor representation of what law enforcement should be. So what is the pleasure, I'm sorry, of the council? Council members, because
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just want to add my support. I also agree with you. I do not believe that the barriers from not only the budget perspective and the signage, all of that, I don't think that's necessary. In fact, I think it would actually add urban blight to our community. I do not want the community center to have large, gates closed down every night. We live in a beautiful community that's just not a thing here, really, So it's not just the budget, it's also just, the beauty of our community. I think I don't want to see, a prison-like complex start to spring up all around on our city properties. And regarding the signage, it's kind of similar with that too. It kind of reminds me, we should all teach our kids about, this very real threat in our own ways. But having signage around, it just seems a bit alarmist. It also, it reminds me of back at when 9/11 happened and we had the different codes. Every day was a new code. We have orange code, we have red code for terrorism, And so I think it adds fear to the community. So I don't support any kind of, signage or physical barriers. The training, definitely we have that. So I'm supportive of that. And I did have one question to clarification. I was wondering if we move forward with this, does this include us looking at San Jose's ordinance? I just want to make it clear that if we move forward with this, that we also are including the mask ban and then also the presentation of ID, that is required.
Thank you,
Okay,
Councilmember.
thank you.
We can address the ban. It would be by way of an ordinance and follow the same tracking as an ordinance with the first and second reading. We can certainly bring that back at the same time that we bring back a resolution if that's the desire of the council. And we'll work with the city attorney to do that as well.
Wonderful. So I guess I would just ask my fellow council members to see if there's support for that, because I certainly think that it's critical if we move forward with this.
yes.
Yeah, Elliot, I just want to make a comment on specifically on that. The badge and ID and name is no question on that. The mask is, I'm just thinking if somebody has COVID or somebody's sick, there's questions that I have on that. So from my standpoint, badge and ID and name on the is absolutely required and important. I guess I would be, what I'd like to do is put a policy together today that is really an intersection of what we have agreed to. And I've got kind of the highlights as to what I think would be appropriate. And then we could look to get additional feedback on the masking or other aspects to this. But I want to be able to get the intersection of what we could agree to today to be able to put forward in a policy that we could all agree to right now.
I appreciate that you agree that the idea is completely necessary. I would push though for the mask as well. As you were saying, well, what if they're sick and they're wearing a mask? Well, that would allow them to get around the law complete, or the ban, or whatever you want to call it. Oh, I'm feeling a little ill, and they just put on a mask. So there should be a strict mask ban. And oh, by the way, they probably have a good union or good federal government healthcare or whatever, and they could take days off if they're sick. You know what I mean? Like I just cannot press it. I'm telling you that the mask thing is very critical. We've never had law enforcement like this, with the exception of special operations, whatever. But my point is, American citizens need to see the faces of the people who are, doing these law enforcement actions. So I just, again, would very much push hard for both of those factors being included. So I guess we haven't heard from a couple more council members. I just want to see if we have a general consensus or where we're at on those two specific things.
I just have a follow-up question on that. How would that be enforced? Who would enforce that?
Well, that's probably a question for staff, am I right?
Let me ask staff at this point, would you like us to have any type of motion that would outline the elements that we want, or based on what you've heard from us, would you prefer to go ahead and develop a resolution with more definitive language and then bring that back to us? What is your request of us at this point in time?
I think we're clear on what the will of the council is in terms of a policy for city facilities and a ban on the use of that property for civil enforcement, civil immigration enforcement. With regard to the mask and the ID, we'll need to hear more from you. Just so that you're aware, the identification by name or badge is already state law. So if we include that in a city ordinance, it would be simply repeating what's in state law. What's not state law is the ban, because it was not upheld by the court. The ban on the mask.
I guess the ban on the mask could be included if we included all law enforcement officers.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you for that distinction.
Maybe I can just ask my colleagues on the council to comment on the mask situation, so that if there is a consensus, majority opinion on that.
Just clarify that again from a staff standpoint. Would a mask requirement be for all law enforcement be acceptable, be workable from a city policy standpoint?
Yes, and the way that the San Jose ordinance reads, to address your earlier comment, it would be for all law enforcement, and there would be exceptions if someone were wearing an N95, for example, because of an illness or some type of protection because there was fallout from an emergency situation. So there are exceptions or carve-outs for those types of things. It's not a blanket ban.
Just Elliot, from that standpoint, I'm comfortable with that.
Sergio?
I would also support that, bring that back. My only additional comment would be if it seems like that for staff, if that's going to take longer to bring it back for first and second reading, I think it's okay to move the other items on which we have consensus to move them forward, again, before summer games, if that helps.
You want to provide an answer to that?
Yeah, we are caucusing here. I think it does sort of slow it down. The policy would be quicker. It's a resolution. We could bring that back rather quickly. The ordinance would require a first and second reading, and we'd want to make sure that the attorney's office has a chance to review that. So that will take a little bit more time. So we either bifurcate those or just move forward on the policy and follow up with the other, however the process.
I'm sorry, when you say move forward on the policy, the basic policy absent the mask issue, but then the mask issue would be a separate policy?
Yeah, let me just clarify. When we talk policy, we're talking about a resolution that talks about the ban on city property of the activities that were discussed this evening. That would be a resolution that's fairly simple at this point to prepare because we have many examples of it. The mask ban is also, we have examples of that, but that would be an ordinance. That ordinance to enforce that would be a first and second reading and would require a city attorney's review. So that will take more time, even though we do have examples, it would take time to put that one together.
Okay, so we could pass the resolution tonight, if the majority of the council so desired. Is that what you're
You
saying?
could not pass the resolution tonight. That's not the point. Tonight's just the study session.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think
But
that
it could come
resolution
back.
could come back quicker than the ordinance could
Oh, I see.
come back to you.
Okay, yeah. I personally would support the mask ban coming back at some point. So,
For
yes,
clarification,
Councilmember.
why does the mask ban, why can't the mask ban be included in the resolution?
I think there's some time involved in determining where in the municipal code it should lie and some consultation with our police department to make sure that it's consistent with anything they have in place. But then also for attorney review to make sure there's nothing in the language that would be inconsistent with the federal court decision.
Thank you.
So if I understand things correctly, staff has enough direction at this point, and enough information to go ahead and come back to us with one, possibly two items in the future. The ordinance, perhaps a little later because it takes longer, but the resolution perhaps even as early as the next meeting or something of that nature.
Well, yeah, so the timing issue is the June. Can we get a policy in place really that prohibits the use of city facilities for civil immigration enforcement activity? How quickly can that specific part be?
We can bring it back before the end of the month, before the end of May.
That's the fastest. We can't.
Well, the next meeting, we would have already had to draft it and have it
So we
submitted.
can't agree, we can't voice that, we can't voice the policy today.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Councilmember Scozola.
Yeah, just real quick. So to me, it kind of sounds like general agreement for the most part on moving fast for the initial part of the resolution, but also trying to be as expedient as possible, but it may take maybe another month. Like I do agree with Councilmember Hines that if we can get all of it done, including the mask ordinance in place before, the big summer events, that would be fantastic. So yeah, that's all I have to say on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think if staff has the basic information that it needs, we have expressed our opinions, and you will move ahead as expeditiously as possible.
We'll do our best to bring it back to the next council meeting in terms of the resolution for the use of city property. And the other one will come back as quickly as we can, hopefully sooner than later.
Just with let me just offer Councilmember Lopez, with you being the originator of this, as do you have any other requests as part of this?
No, I think with the staff procedure that our city manager's office has developed that addresses most of the other outstanding things. I guess just as bringing it back as part of the bring back the restrictions, hopefully at the next meeting for city-owned property. I would be interested in seeing as part of that because it seems like it would be workable and there's a relatively small number, including existing leases among that, at least the analysis. But I'm personally interested in moving that forward.
I was saying, don't we have multiple leases that would that they would be affected by that. That may not be able to be addressed within 2 or 3 weeks.
And I'm sorry, I'm not clear on what Councilmember Lopez is requesting. I hear that he's looking for the policy to come back in 2 weeks, but I'm not hearing clear on.
To include the leases that are affected by city property.
And what's the request in terms of the leases? Do you want to carve out, you want an exemption for the existing leases the way the.
To include them.
To not exempt them.
Correct, to the extent possible. I'm asking for at least the analysis of that. If that truly isn't possible within the time frame, that's one thing. But I'd like to explore that by the time we bring it back, or at least be strategic, or triage the ones that we think are most important.
Yeah, I'm not sure we can do that in depth of analysis for the leases. So the decision will be if the council wants to exempt existing leases. If there's a particular property that you're concerned about.
Okay, yeah. Could I be more specific? Could we look at the library and community center?
Already included language in our contract, but they just agreed to accept the terms of any city policies. We've already had that conversation with them. So they.
Okay, and so that's what I was referencing, and that's why I thought that it sounded feasible. So not sure what the issue is.
Okay, the library is taking care, it's covered. Yes, they will. And the county has a separate policy as well. So any fire facilities or fire stations would be subject to it as well.
Okay, great. So that's what I wanted to make sure that we included. I was just leaving it to staff to be more specific by the next meeting if we needed to be.
Okay, thank you. Thank you everyone for attending and for speaking tonight. I also wish to acknowledge and thank all those who wrote letters, who either are not here or chose not to speak. Your information and input has been very helpful. I thank members of the staff and my fellow colleagues. And with that, I will adjourn this meeting.
Thank you.
Are we rolling right into the next one or taking 5?